Hello, Mark Sabatella here. In this video, I'm going to talk about the Neapolitan chord as it applies to this particular movement of the Bach B minor Mass that I've been looking at lately. And this is the third portion, so it's the Kyrie, it's the return of the Kyrie, right? So Kyrie eleison, Lord have mercy, then Christe eleison, Christ have mercy, then Kyrie eleison. And each of those things is one line of lyric, but it's a whole movement, right? So this is the second of the Kyries, so the third piece, the third movement of the whole piece. The first Kyrie, the Christe, second Kyrie. So it starts off with just two voices, just a bass voice and then the continuo part, the cello or whatever instrument is playing this actual bass line. So I said I want to talk about the Neapolitan chord. So what I want to do is make sure that, first of all, we're familiar with what the Neapolitan chord is, how it works, and then you'll hear it right here in a very simplified portion, a simplified format. So the Neapolitan, the idea is it's going to be a major triad built on scale degree flat 2 in a minor key. So we have an F sharp minor is our key here. Right? Here's our 1 chord. And yes, it's the Mass in B minor, but this particular movement is an F sharp minor. So here's our 1 chord. The flat 2 chord would be a G major triad. A G major triad. It's normally, this Neapolitan is normally played in first inversion. And that puts scale degree 4 in the bass. So it kind of feels a little like a 4 chord a little bit. And then typically, well, it could go a couple different things, but basically it's going to go to 5. It's going to go to 5. And then back to 1. So that's kind of, if you wanted to think of that as like a little cycle. 1, Neapolitan, to 5, to 1. That's kind of the cycle. There's a lot of different variations, a lot of things possible. Let's just go ahead and hear what Bach does with just 2 voices in the first measure of this piece. We don't have to listen to anything more than the first measure. So, right there we have F sharp, there's our tonic chord. And then the voices go up to the G, the continuo part, the cello or whatever other instrument is playing it, goes down to a B, and that's essentially our G triad. We only have 2 voices at this point, but, later on in the piece when he's got more voices playing, one of them will have a D. So there is our Neapolitan chord. And then he goes right to basically the 5 chord. Now, the 5 chord you might think would be this. Okay? You have a C sharp and the E sharp, but he doesn't do that, right? The bass part here stays on the B. And so it's a little funny, a little disguised, but yeah, that's still a 5 chord. It's a dominant 7th 5 chord with the 7th in the bass, and then it resolves to the 1 chord in first inversion. So this is a stripped down version of, except he goes same basic chord progression, but with some nice interesting voice leading and rhythmic things going on, some inversions to increase the interest level of it. One other thing I'm going to point out about this is if you study the Neapolitan in a theory textbook or in my harmony course, a point is made that often instead of going directly from the Neapolitan to the 5, we do this thing here of going to 1 6 4 then 5, and it's to avoid the awkwardness of what's going on here in this melody, this G going to E sharp. Now you might look at that on the piano and say that's just a whole step, nothing wrong with that, but it is a little awkward because of the chromaticism involved. That's really an E sharp, right? Not an F. And so it kind of looks funny. It's a diminished second interval, no, diminished third, right? It's some weird interval like that, and it's this whole like tightly woven together. It's like chromatic, and can be a little awkward to sing. And Bach hits you over the head with it right off the bat. So anyhow, I think that's like really interesting how this piece starts right off with that bit of complexity, but stripped down to this simple two-voice texture that has that harmonic complexity going on, and that just sets the stage for the whole piece, which continues to explore that motif and its various implications. So anyhow, that's the Neapolitan chord right there at the beginning of this Kyrie.